Hello, hello, hello. Greetings once again. I am Griffin Gaming RPG, and welcome to the Soul Producers. I'm joined today with my colleagues, cohorts, and co-producers, fastcart FC and Serious Fun. I usually say, "How are you guys doing?" and then you both speak at the same time. So I'm going to do it. fastcart, how are you doing?
I'm okay, but we lost the stream in Discord. We don't see you.
Oh
It came up for a moment,
no,
then it
it
went black.
disappeared. Okay, well I
There you
will.
go. There it goes.
Really?
There it goes. It's back.
It just did that on its own. That's weird. Maybe Discord's acting crazy because I didn't do
Yeah,
anything. Okay. Well, how
but
are you?
other than that, I came out of hibernation, but it's still cold. I, there's only two reasons when I wear the Soul Citizen sweat hoodie. It's either it's time for me to do laundry or it's cold, and it's not time for me to do laundry. So yeah, I'm
Okay.
managing.
Yeah, I know all the bad weather has left from the Midwest and is over on the East Coast now, so you guys are catching it, and it's still more coming, I think. Serious, how about you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I went to the store, so it wasn't that cold. It was sunny,
Okay.
um, but I had to put on my Soul Citizens gear. You talk about the laundry. I always feel like this is lost in the laundry. I'm like, where is my Soul Citizens merchandise?
I don't
Okay.
know about you, but I have like three shirts and a hoodie.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and it's like I feel like it's never right where I can grab it. So I was very pleased today that this popped up, and pleased to be here with y'all.
Okay. Well, since everybody's talking fashion, I'm doing okay. But I was the renegade today. I was just thinking about, let me show you what I decided to wear today. I decided to wear that. I
I
decided,
was sending them. I
yeah,
was sending the clip.
I decided to do the relay shirt, and it was because I was like just thinking about what we do and why we do and how we do, and I just got nostalgic all of a sudden and started thinking about who were some of the first people that I watched when I
The
started getting into
OGs.
Star Citizen. Yeah, the OGs and Relay, which was a different name back then. They were INN, but Relay was the group that I tuned into and still watch from time to time, even now. It's just unfortunately Saturday evenings are kind of rough for me. But in general, they were the people who gave us so much information. This is, you know,
Oh yeah, the
the
transcript that killed them.
the earliest group of people who put in time. I mean, they made a news team and a group, not only a news team, but they also did their own commentary and had folks from CIG on and brought on other content creators. So they were kind of one of the first groups to kind of have a multi type platform for content creation. So shout out to Relay. They're still out there. Saturday
Yeah.
nights,
Still
you
out
guys
there, yeah.
tune into them at 8. I think it's 8 Eastern, I think it is. They're
Nine
in,
Eastern,
is it 9 Eastern? They're over in, well, they're spread out, but they're global.
mostly Canada and UK or Japan,
Yep.
depending on what ship it is at the moment.
Yeah, I was trying not to say where they were, fast car. Yep, but that's why I said global.
No.
But anyway, that's gone. So anyway, but this doesn't hurt. If you watch their show, they'll let you know that that is where they exist. But they
See, I
are
can't tell whether or
spread
not
out.
you're trying to be vague or you can't remember.
Oh, that's
We're
true.
all old here.
Yeah,
I'm trying to help you out.
that's true. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So, we're entering into the month of February, and first off, the reason why we do these shows is a special thank you to our subscribers and our patrons who look out for us on YouTube and Patreon. They go the extra mile in helping us continue to do the Soul Citizens, and so a special shout out to them. But this show also goes public a few days afterwards, so our other community folks can enjoy and watch it as well. This is just a conversation that we have as the producers. We can't talk about everything on our Sunday shows, and so we kind of have this show as something that when we've had conversations or topics that we feel is happening within the community, we bring those here and talk about them. So, for the month of February, for many of you, you know that it is often celebrated in many places. The month of Valentine's Day, also in the Star Citizen universe, it's called Koramor. The Red Festival is also celebrated during this time, but the idea of love and sharing is a part of this. And I kind of wanted to present some stuff to my co-producers today, which they weren't. No, they didn't know anything about this till like 10 minutes ago, so they're still thinking and formulating. But I want to talk about both love and hate. Now, yeah, I want to be really, we're using that as just a term to get your attention, obviously, but it also is something that we want to analyze is the feelings of how people feel about Star Citizen, about its development, about CIG, about the way they do their fundraising, Chris Roberts, whatever. I mean, we're going to be talking about just feelings of how people, sentiments of how people feel. And this is projected over a period of time. Some of it is our observations, but you're also going to hear our feelings about where things are. We kind of did a little bit of this at the beginning of the year to kind of project into some of the changes. And we know that CIG has announced that they are doing some things that, the community has hoped that they would do. One of them being that they're going back to doing weekly output in some form, whether that's an ISC or an SCL. They've been doing newsletters and things of that nature, but they do monthly reports and things. But obviously, they want to communicate more frequently, which is a good thing. I think most of us enjoy the communication that we receive from CIG. And I think one of their negatives, one of the things we hate, is when we don't hear from them. So I think that we do love hearing from them. The other thing that I think that we love is that there's been some level of consistency with the dropping of patches for the game. CIG originally said, "Oh, we're going to be putting out all these patches," and there was a lot of skepticism about if it was really going to happen. And last year they did pull it off, and this year they've recommitted themselves in a slightly different way, in a much, I think, which is a much more manageable way. Instead of doing something every 4 to 6 weeks, they're doing something every 2 months, about every 8 weeks. And I think bi-monthly is great because not that we hate it quarterly, but I think that we love the fact that they're able to speed up their cadence a little bit and still provide things for us to test, for us to have fun with, for things for us to get frustrated with, even. But the fact that that's increased. So I want to go to FC. I'm going to start with you, I guess. And if there were things that you would say, you've been in here, maybe you can just say how long you've been involved with Star Citizen um, and the community, and maybe talk about what are some of the things that you love about it that kind of keep you going, keep you inspired, keep you hanging in there when things get tough, because things do get tough, and that's a reality I think for all of us. Share something. What you got?
So yeah, I started in 2014. It's almost been 12 years coming October, and well, I always say the community, but you talking about Star Citizen specifically. Um, I love this. I like to see the progress that they're actually making. Like when I in 2014, what got me into Star Citizen was the CitizenCon presentation, and they were showing the Hanger module for the first time. Not the Hanger module, but no, they were showing Art Corp, and that was coming in, and that's what drew me in. And then I downloaded it, and I was able to experience it, and then I kept track of the news and everything that's coming out of CIG, and say, oh, they're making progress. So I do like to see the steady progress, even though it may not seem like they're making progress sometime, or maybe they're making not making progress fast enough, but they are steadily making progress. And like specific milestones like procedural planet, people to planet, um, server messing, stuff like that. So they're steadily making progress, and it's good to see that. Something I dislike, or you want to do that later?
We'll do that afterward. Yeah, we'll hit the love
Okay.
first. We'll hit the love first, and we'll go to Doctor Love next. Serious. Same question to you.
Yeah, I I came on board this project in December of 2013, um, in the main because of Chris Roberts and my love for the Wing Commander franchise.
Mm.
Um, but I started thinking about a multiplayer life and beyond the single player adventure side of it around the same time as fastcart, with that video, that ArcCorp landing video of that constellation coming down and being unloaded, and thinking,
That's only because it's RSI.
I
That's
was gonna
all.
say, thinking,
That's all
what is
it's got
this
to do with.
RSI brand?
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm in love with that. I've been in love with that since that 2013, 2014 period. And, last night we over at Soul Station on our Discord, um, that love was made manifest. It was another example of coming together, playing together, sharing things together, doing things together, um, and not waiting. for all the perfect tools and the perfect environment to be in there, to jump in there and just start doing stuff. Um, be working the workarounds, dealing with the bugs, jumping in there, having fun. And we did that till 3 in the morning where I was at. So I, this is a project that I've loved for a long time in that context, and I'm just getting more and more of it as we progress. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, if I had to throw my 2 cents in, I would say that, like fastcart, I think I made my first official purchase in 2014, but I started watching in 2013. And, um, I was a there was a I had a really weird hunger for mine because I had come out of variety of space games from, I mean, just going way back. I mean, I'm gonna have to go back how far I'm talking back in the freaking 80s and 90s. But I had come out of games that I had really delved myself into, one of them being Star Wars Galaxies, and then after that, Eve Online. And those two games took me into were probably the most immersive worlds that I had ever played any space game in. And I was looking for what was the next thing. What was what would be the next thing? I never associate, even though I knew about Chris Roberts and Wing Commander, I didn't really know what this project was supposed to be. I didn't. I just heard Chris Roberts is making this new space game, and I was getting kind of burnt out with Eve. So it was more of a, well, let's just see what this thing is. And then once I came in and saw what it was, um, weirdly enough, even though the original pitch was toward Squadron, the persistent universe is what stuck with me. And that's because I had been doing things like Second Life and, just that whole MMO immersive world thing. And so for me, um, after being kind of just tired of what was out there or frustrated, I said, let's give this a chance. And so, anyway, over the years, I've started to like Fast Cart. Uh, about 2 years later, I went to my first Citizen Con in 2016, and I would have to say, Fast Cart, that probably was the bond that did it for me. Even though I was in an org, prior to going, because I think I had joined Test the year before, or maybe 2 years before, year and a half before. That was okay because I'd been in orgs before, but I had never gone to an event like CitizenCon. You know, um, I'd gone to game conventions and things, but not something dedicated to one particular game. And there was something about that camaraderie that was in that space that let me know that I wasn't just some crazy person. There were a bunch of other crazy people there with me. And like back in the day, geeks and nerds were different. And so to find a community that was different and also was just as interested and curious and supportive of this project was probably what drew me in more than anything. And then, of course, being in my org, which is Test Squadron, created a lot of great relationships and friendships there. Still uh, friends with many of the people there, even after all these years. That's Jesus, 12 years. Oh, God. Long time of knowing these people. So anyway, but my
But
love, sure.
oh, go, no, no, I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I'm glad you brought that up because when Serious Fun was speaking, I'm like, darn, I forgot to mention Citizen Con. That's definitely like a love for me too. So yeah, we're like minded on that. When I went to my first Citizen Con in 2016, so 2 years after I back, that was back in it was in LA, and yeah, it was fun. Got to meet a whole lot of people that I was able to put names to faces because you can see Griffin Gaming RPG on Twitch and see it and see your name, but then actually meeting it's like, oh, there are a few of us back around here.
Yeah.
So that was that. Yeah, yeah. Like I always say community, but I was trying to find a different answer this time, but community is definitely part of the love.
Mhm. I,
well,
I
and
will
for
say,
me,
well,
I went
let me
to.
say this real quick before you jump in serious, because I want to check. This is going to be, or go back and watch the video later. But, Fast Car said we're all getting old. He mentioned Citizen Con when he opened up earlier, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to go back and
Oh,
watch the video. And
I
see,
don't know.
and
I
see.
don't
I don't
know.
believe so.
Oh yeah, okay,
The
okay.
problem is I
All right,
can't
y'all.
remember, so
All
that's how
right,
I know I'm
y'all.
getting old.
All right, y'all. Let's make a bet. Whoever gets it right. If I get it right, I'm not gonna put the bet on fast card. If I got it right, unless now mind you, I might be having my own hallucinations as an old man. But if I got it right, if he in his intro talked about CitizenCon or mentioned CitizenCon, I will buy him a brand new Soul Citizen shirt. All right. So
There
I'm
we
See,
just
here's the
go.
telling
thing.
y'all that.
I think I said community, but I didn't mention
No,
Citizen
oh,
Con.
okay. That's the second
But
time he
we'll
said it.
see.
He's just verified it twice, y'all. He didn't say it. He didn't say it. Just remember that, okay? I'm just teasing. Okay, go ahead, Sirius. What are you gonna say?
I was just gonna amplify the CitizenCon idea because I didn't go as early to those conventions as you all did. I didn't start going until the most recent LA one and then the Manchester one. And what it did for me was really intensify the the idea that we were all dreaming and imagining and experiencing together, right? That there was a real opportunity to just really amplify that feeling, right? It, today there's a lot of spaces and places, and I guess we'll get into hate, but there's just a lot of spaces and places where the energy isn't necessarily everybody wants everybody to do well. And that's what a citizen con is, right? People want to have a great experience themselves. They want to see others having a great experience, and they want CIG to do well, right? They came out here. Everybody came out here for something very positive. So um, that was powerful for me. The second thing about citizen cons that were powerful for me that I loved was people coming to the table, right? So in LA, there was a Soul Citizens booth. But even in Manchester, just walking around with Griffin as somebody who is known to be Soul Citizens, to have people come up to the table or come up to the to Griffin and say, I watch you. I don't necessarily say anything in the chat, but I watch you and I appreciate the community that you've built, or you need to know that people are out here rooting for you, or Soul Citizens is it's really great to be there, and have people come up and really connect in that way. Um, for me, makes this very very special. So I love that as well.
Yeah, I I don't know what to say to that. That's it.
That's
There
because it's
it,
just
it
true.
wasn't, but it wasn't just me.
It's
There
just
wasn't
true.
just me though. There were people who did come up and speak to you as well. I think that what made it
Oh yeah,
what
yeah, yeah. But
what
but
what made
know
what
that it's that people came up to you and said, I've been watching you do this.
yeah,
Right. And Fastcart, it happened in LA for Fastcart as well.
right.
If Fastcart had been in Manchester, it happened to him in Manchester
Exactly.
too.
Exactly.
You know,
I think what it is that reason why it might have struck, at least I know why it struck me differently, was that we were in the UK. And in LA it was one thing. We had the table and people, oh, you guys are Soul Citizens. We watch you, blah 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 blah. But when we were in the UK, we were there as just attendees. And so it did feel both. Don't get me wrong, it was nice for people. Obviously, it was wonderful that people say, hey, I've seen you and I appreciate what you do. But it's also sometimes a little overwhelming too, because we're just like, I mean, we're just content creators,
I,
and I get it, I get it. But that love that people share with us, that we've always say this, we don't want to take it for granted, knowing that
right?
people take out time from their weekend. Sunday nights is no joke. People are getting their kids ready for school, or they're getting themselves ready for work, or it's the very end of the weekend, and many people choose to spend those 2 hours with us, or those Thursday nights or those Saturday afternoons with us, and we're always appreciative of that. We try to continue to do what we do because of our love for not just the game, because we can love the game, but there's also the love of the community. I think that's the thing that really drives us, not just us, but everybody who's a part of the Soul Citizens team. Because all those people, we've got people like Ubdi and Yo Yo, and who are people who are doing their own live streams and trying to build their own communities, and they make those opportunities to spend time with us. And we have so many guests that do the same thing, that come on, who are streamers as well. And so we just ever don't want ever think people to think we love you guys
Yeah,
for
we love all that.
that extra, yeah, that extra that you guys do for that. What were you going to say, FC?
all I was gonna say is like when people come up to me and I try to be gracious, but I am self-deprecating by nature, so I never know how to react still to this day. So it's
To
like,
being a superstar,
yeah.
you're gonna have to learn to know how to be a superstar, sir.
Maybe I need one of those training the actors get to, before they get famous or something. But I appreciate it. Don't stop doing it. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. I'm not, when I seem flustered, that's why.
Yeah. So let me flip the coin a little bit here because we're going to be talking about us first, and then we're going to talk about community. Let's talk about the hate side. And when I say hate, I don't, unless you do hate. I mean, I'm not going to say how you feel. But what I'm going to say are what are those things that are the struggles, the difficulties for you. Um, and it could be any aspect of this whole thing: community development, company, marketing, whatever you want to highlight. Or maybe just your own frustrations with, maybe I need a better computer. Whatever.
I got one.
Right. What is it? What is it that that you struggle with, or that's difficult for you personally when it comes to Star Citizen? Fast card, I'll come back to you.
Oh, for me, I still okay. Back in 2016, I used to play Arena Commander because I was like, well, I mean, it wasn't one of the few things that I didn't really get into the baby PU or the Persistent Universe as it was called back then. I was a Arena Commander person, but I used voice attack, and I had to reinstall Windows, and I've just never gone back to installing voice attack. But one of the things with voice attack is that you have to train it. I did try one time, but it was messed up because I had noise canceling on, so voice attack wasn't picking up my voice. Instead of using the input for noise canceling, I should have gone directly from my microphone
Mm-hmm.
into the voice attack software. But I didn't know that. By the time I figured it out, it was already trained and it was messing up. So yeah, so that's one thing. But that's on me. That's not something that CIG has to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess one thing that I dislike, I don't want to say hate. Um, Sometimes the community again, you could that you can do love and loathe for the community because I mean there are some people in the community who are frustrated, and I'm not saying that they don't deserve to or don't or shouldn't be, but sometimes it's like there are other games you can play. You don't have to sit there being frustrated, So that's one of the things that make me say, what is it about this? I guess it's better to have a passion about a game than be not agnostic, eh, eh, not caring about the game. But yeah, there's some to it. There comes a time when you say, okay, maybe I should put this game down and do something else or play something else. But I don't know why people don't do that.
Mm. Maybe that's a good question we can talk about too. Serious, what about you? The times where the frustration or aggravation or hate or whatever comes up.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the word hate. Don't hate me for using the word hate. But no, it was funny that Fast Card said something that made me think of a song. He said things that make you go right.
Mm-hmm.
He said things that make you go But
I'm glad you
in
caught that.
the words of a song that I produced called Refundians, and this is the 2026 Knicks Serious Fun live concert remix, by the way. Uh, but in the words of that song, the first verse is imagine giving good time in your life to something giving back nothing but pain and strife. You
Mm.
should have made the call. You should have made it the ex-wife. Instead, haters walk around with their knife. And I hate when haters do that in this project, right? For me, and to Fast Card's point, take a break, right? Recognize who you are. Come back later. And the thing is closer to 1.0. Um, Not everybody is built to the journey of seeing the sausage get made. Not only seeing the sausage get made, but participate in the sausage making process to some extent, right?
Mm.
To be all up in the sausage, right? Not everybody built for that, right? A lot of people are, and a lot of people are excited because we don't get this opportunity at a AAA and quadruple A level, right? But a lot of people are bringing, their publisher presents finished product, and I evaluate sensibility to a project that's in motion, right? That's in testable alpha phase, right? And they get very frustrated, right? And instead of turning that flashlight and analysis on themselves, um, or having a balanced analysis of themselves and CIG. It's all CIG. And for me, I dislike that, right? Because I try to always begin with me, right? And then see where I'm at, and then go forward and do that external analysis. So I don't like that. The other thing that I hate, right, is um, in a way, even though I feel like I'm built for this, I do want to be at the end, right? So I want to be both in the journey and at the end of the journey, right? You know, um, I want to see what it's going to be like at the end, right? And that's just me feeling my mortality. So I guess I hate that I'm mortal, right?
Yeah.
Because if the project, let's say the project really does end up with 100 systems at the end, right?
Mhm.
I want to see that,
Mhm.
right? I want to live in that world,
Mhm.
right? I want to move about in that space and place, right? And so, while at the same time I'm enjoying the journey, I do hate that I can't predict. Tomorrow's granted no one, and you can't predict that you'll see the end. So I try to enjoy it right now, but there's a part of me that hates that as well. So how
Fast
about you?
cart. You ever have a game where somebody's giving you an obituary talking about a game? Is pretty interesting. I don't know. Um, let, let, let me give you something. As you were speaking, that came in my mind, and you were talking about, is everyone built for this? And I started thinking about, have we as gamers romanticized, since we're talking about love, have we romanticized the idea of Star Citizen? Have we romanticized the idea of being a part of the development? Have we romanticized the the whole support aspect of this thing, and not completely understood or were aware
Hmm.
of what all that entailed, right? Because the polish and the presentation at GDC and the videos and the trailers all present the romanticized versions of what's going on. But then there's also the reality that comes along with that. When I did a movie back in 2007, and I wrote, produced, and direct this film, and pulling it together, casting, all the stuff that was involved with it was a tremendous amount of work. Probably the most difficult thing I ever did was probably this film. Now, the reason why I'm telling you that is because when I was making that film, I had people there who didn't know who I was. I was a first time feature filmmaker, and they were there because they're getting paid. There were only a couple people that were part of that process, and there probably was about 70 people working on this thing. There were only about maybe 5 to maybe 10 who knew me personally. Everybody else was from casting or hiring or reference or going through the mags here, the production mags, and finding people to work. And those people came and participated, and it was a job, and they did get a benefit from it. They got paid, and they got credits for their resumes. But it wasn't until you got to the very end when we had the party at the end, the wrap party, right? This is when it's all done and it's edited, and we're getting ready to go out for distribution. And I'll never forget one of the guys who's the audio guy. He came up to me and he came and shook my hand. And this guy gave me grief. This dude, because I had to pay these jokers weekly, and he wanted his money every week. That was his thing. He wasn't going to wait till the end of the thing because he was worried about not getting paid. So every Friday, I had to pay this guy, right? He came up to me afterward and shook my hand and said, "I am so happy that I did this and that you were able to get this done." Now, that wasn't the way he was with me during the process. Like, he was
Hmm.
hardballing me through the process. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is it took a while, and then the film finally got distribution. But there's this thing in film that maybe some people who don't know this about filmmaking. There are plenty of people who try to make movies all the time, But the thing that the industry considers you, or when the industry considers you a success, is if you finish it and get it distributed.
Mm.
You could do all the writing, rehearsals, filming, have all the stuff together, even if it's in the can. But if nobody sees it, you did achieve one thing. But in the industry, the thing is to get your film out there. Okay. And so the reason why I'm sharing that story is there are a lot of companies that have done all that stuff, right? They've started companies and hired people, and they've tried to get their product out there, and they had the best intention. Not trying to scam people, not trying to rip people off, but it never got into the can, let alone got distributed.
Distributed, right?
Let alone got distributed. Okay. And so that process of getting it distributed, getting us to that 1.0 space is where we're having these struggles. There were some people who worked with me who loved it, who enjoyed the work, right? It was work, but they enjoyed doing what they were doing. There were other people, it's just getting paid and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that even in our own community, you have people who are here for a variety of different reasons, but they're all here to get to that end that you mentioned, serious, right? To try to get to that end. Some of them gonna be hardballing and banging on the table every week saying, "Where's my pay? Where's my update? Where's my ship? Where's my this?" You know what I mean? That's just like it was in my film thing, right? They're gonna be asking for it all the time. They're the other people who are at the craft services table just eating everything up, right? And they're happy as long as you feed them. As long as you're feeding them, they're happy. And some of these people who are here, so as long as they got
Where
some
the food
content,
at?
they're happy. Well, I'm just saying, some of the people, as long as they're getting something, they're happy. And so,
Yeah, I wanted.
mhm. No, I was just going to say, so I think that, for me, that's one side of my hate is that struggle, because I hate seeing people have that struggle, but I also know that struggle is real. And you guys heard me say it before. CIG has said it, that the only reason why people are biting and frustrated and writing pretty terse posts is because they want to see the product. They want the product, right? And I know sometimes it doesn't feel that way, and I've had to tell
Yeah, but
myself that.
that's also an incomplete thing,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They want the product, but
Mm.
different people want the product for different reasons,
That is
right?
very true. That is very true.
You,
And that
yeah, some people who want
introduces.
the product to experience it. You have other people who want the product to say, transactionally, this doesn't match my investment, and now I'm mad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that
So,
is another side of it. I mean, but that's a reality, right? And that's why I was
right.
saying we've got the romanticized version of it, but all that other stuff comes with it too. People who have good intention, bad intention, selfish intention, collective intention, all of it is a part of that big bubble that happens. Go ahead, Fast. I had one more hate that I was going to say, but I went too long on that story, so I'm not going to share it. Go ahead, FC. What were you going to say?
Oh, you can say it after this. Still, I wanted to go back to what Serious Fun. We're talking about the issue of mortality. I remember when a team member of Soul Citizen passed away, Nomad 1701,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that I want to say it hit me hard, but it shook me because I'm like, dang. I mean, I see the end of it. I mean, I live to see the end of this thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear you when you mention mortality. It's like I've been saying since 2017. I hope the CIG put together some kind of dedication or wall for all the backers who couldn't make it to the end of the of its launching. But I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well,
If,
and Griff,
go
just
ahead.
and Griff lives in a town that has a church called Saint Sabina, and I watched a speaker. This was over the internet. I wasn't there, but Griff asked me. Griff mentioned Reverend Flager and Saint Sabina, and I said, "Oh, I know them because I watched a guy speak there." And one of the things he said was, "Nobody gets out of time and space alive."
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the question becomes, what are you going to do? And this get very philosophical, but this is the producers. This is where we can do that. What are you going to do with the time from womb to tomb?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's it going to look like? And what I don't want on my tombstone is for people to be like, yeah, with everything, he was very transactional.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Right? He found a way to be unsatisfied with every moment. Right? I don't want that on my tombstone. Right? And what I want on my tombstone is he enjoyed the journey. Because to your
Mhm.
point, Fastcart, and rest in peace,
Mhm.
that 1701, right?
Mhm.
But tomorrow ain't granted everybody, right? And so how do we figure out how to discern and derive some value and some joy from the now, right? Because, imagine being unsatisfied through all your nows, and then you don't even see the end of the project.
Mhm.
Mm.
That'd be crazy, right? That make you want to get up and haunt somebody. You want to haunt CIG.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I have lost 4 people personally that I know who were committed to this project, who are no longer here. And one of them was so deep. He was the person I did my very first podcast with, and he ate, drank, and slept this game. He was Evocati. This guy would literally like check the clock every hour if there was supposed to be a Evocati patch. Even if he was asleep, the dude would set his alarm to wake up and see if the patch had dropped. I mean, that's how dedicated he was to this. And I think he got to the point where he got to test going into Pyro, and that's as far as he got. But he got to
Mm,
do that, right? But
mm,
listen, you don't have to be old. We've had young people who we've lost. We lost a person in our community that Fastcart and I both knew due to cancer. You know, it doesn't make a difference, right? I mean, you could be anybody. You don't have to be an elderly person. You could be a person of good health. So yeah, the thing I hate is that there may be those people who those opportunities get missed for them because
yeah,
they've been committed to it. So to your point, Sirius, that's why you were saying earlier about how you like the journey, but you also look forward to that end. But you also better enjoy the moment. Find some
Mhm.
joy in the moment. Don't let the moment always be misery. I mean, I know it's difficult sometimes, but sometimes you have to step back and fast cart, you said it earlier. Sometimes it means maybe I've got too much. I put too much weight on this thing called Star Citizen. I can still believe in it and want it, but let me shift that weight over here for a little bit, and I'll come back and check every once in a while. Um, but again, this is all like I said. This can get very philosophical. Okay,
Mhm.
let's move on because our
But
time is burning. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I'm gonna make it real
okay,
quick.
to your other point about being a filmmaker, uh, I, it seemed to me like in the community, a lot of the armchair developers came out of the woodworks. It's like, oh, CIG should be doing this, or why is CIG using this database? The other database is better. So there's a lot of that going around, and I dislike that too. I'll be quick about with that, but yeah,
Well,
the
I mean,
armchair,
yeah. Let
and
me be
yeah.
clear. If you could build this game, you would have built it already, right?
yeah, but
Because there's 5 million backers. People giving nearly $1 billion to this game. If you could have built it, if it was just like, oh, you just use this and just use that. Well, go ahead and just use this and just use that then,
Mhm.
and we can see your version of Star Citizen, right? But the reason you haven't done that is because that's not true, right? They had to build wholly new. They had to build stuff out of whole cloth, and they had to convert stuff in way. And they're bringing in people from Lucasfilm, Star Wars people who have done concept art at the highest level, right? And so I do not think that there are a bunch. There may be some, but I do not think that there are a bunch of armchair developers who bring that same level of experience to the table, and they're just like, "Why ain't you using these alternatives?" Because they've been making movies over at Lucasfilm for 20 years, and they know just as well. Now, I think that's crazy talk. So I dismiss that utterly.
okay. What I was gonna say to Fast Card's point too is I play other games where people are always armchair developers. It's just a common part of the gaming community. You know, you sitting there playing a game and someone says they need to, they should, you know,
Why don't
and
they?
why don't they? Or they should have by now. And so it's not indicative of just Star Citizen, right? It happens with any games where we feel some level of dissatisfaction exists, or, and sometimes that dissatisfaction is legitimate. And then there are other times where the dissatisfaction is because the thing I want to do isn't there as of yet. Or,
I
the developer chose not to put it in. Now that's the other side of the coin too. There's this other side, and I know we've talked about this about Star Citizen before. Star Citizen doubtfully will be 100% for everybody or anybody for that matter.
Right.
you may find that Star Citizen, and I'm referring to the Persistent Universe show, not Squadron 42. The Persistent Universe may offer you 80% satisfaction. 70%. Maybe there's some things that you wish you could see, or I wish they would have done exploration this way, or I wish they would have done farming this way. I mean, and that's going to continue, guaranteed, because there are going to be some people who love the way farm, like crafting's about to come out, right? I've been seeing all these people saying crafting's so great, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, crafting is a tier tier 3, tier 2, and I guarantee you there's going to be about 3 more tiers, and the question's going to be when it's
Yeah.
tier 6, will people still like it? You know, because there may be some people who hated it before that like it then, and some people who liked it. I told you, I've heard people, I liked when mining was just when you went outside at tier 2. They're at tier 6 and they don't even mind, and they don't mind no more. They don't mind because they think the mining has gotten too complex. So satisfying
Yeah.
everybody's going to be a thing. Go ahead, FC.
No, I was gonna say like I played other games too, and yes, there are there's armchair developers in those other games. It just seemed like to me it's like 3 or 4 times as many armchair developers for Star Citizen than there
But
are
Well, and
but
other
wait,
that's
we are
because
games.
it's
though.
not. Yeah, it's because it's not
It's in
done.
development, right? Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Other games arrive and they have been completed, so somebody is able to say, as a developer of that game,
Post
"Here, I am."
assessment. Mm-hmm.
Right, it's Griff's film point. Like we got it in the can and we're distributed. This is a completed idea,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so there's less opportunity to think you might have an impact on what the game looks like
Because it's
than there
done.
is here because it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? People here are like, "Oh, this isn't done. Let me redirect the project." Right? And I'm almost 100% sure CIG does not receive feedback in that way,
Yeah.
right? They don't go, "Oh, we heard this one thing from this one guy. Take it up to Chris and let's do a U-turn on the project." That's not gonna. That's
Oh
not what.
wait, you don't remember the A2? The A2 was totally like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, people want to think that. Yeah,
Yeah, right. Okay, let's jump into the hate. And again, I know that or the love. I'm sorry. No, did you give me? Yeah, you gave me your hate, right? Did I give mine? I didn't give. I gave mine. Okay, we go through
Yeah.
love and hate for us. Okay, so
yeah.
let's talk about the love. Community wise, what are the things that you love? You know, as far as what you've heard from the community, things that people do like. What are the things that you guys have heard responses to when it comes to that? FC, I'll go with you first. I'll flip it the other way around
Uh,
this time. This time I'll go to Sirius first. I'll give you some time to think.
okay.
Sirius.
Yeah, one of the things I love about watching the community engage with Star Citizen in particular, we haven't really seen folks engage with Squadron 42 other than the videos, is um, that communal shared awe for what we see, right? Some folks speed past it, but a lot of folks stop and go, "Man, every moment of this is a screenshot simulator," right? Or, "Oh man, I'm in the rain," and they will slow their ship down as they come down to Area 18 because it happens to be raining
Mm.
to experience the rain. And you're like, "Oh, that's something I would do," right? So what I love about the community is when I see them react to the project, particularly in game, in ways that sort of reflect how I see the project, right? Which is very often to slow down and experience those moments. I see a lot of people in the community do that, right? Whereas, if you're playing Battlefield or Call of Duty, all of that beautiful background is just something to run past, right? There's no time
Yeah.
in the game model to even look at anything. You're gonna get shot in the head. So in Star Citizen, to see other people react the way I react, to the environment and to the ships and to the detail and to the overall canvas that CIG has painted here, and really have that same awe that I often have, is something that I love a lot.
Okay. FC.
Yeah, I was writing down my ideas. I personally like seeing how the ships are developed. Like way back when we had like
No, wait, wait, wait,
lawmakers
wait, wait, wait,
and
wait, wait. Now you telling me what you love. I'm asking you what have you know that the community loves? Because you already had your you love segment earlier. You got to tell me about the community. And now if you wanna spend that, say, with the community love ships, that's fine, but you
Now,
got
some of the community do love
okay, but
ships,
yeah, but
like
don't talk
Yeah,
about you, but don't talk about you, because you said "I love," and this isn't an "I" moment, this is about the
all right, right.
community,
Well,
okay?
I'm like continue on. I'm gonna say like way back when they had the lawmakers got to the galaxy and Bugsmasters and in community like those, but in, like I, for me and to some of the others in the community, we love it when ship shapes or the behind the ships comes out because we get to see the how the sausage is being made. It's a serious fun point
Mhm,
when it comes to the ship development. So
mhm,
I think that's an aspect that people tend to love. Also, some of these commercials are just amazing for
mhm,
a Star Citizen. You talk about being a screenshot simulator. I mean, some of the commercials have like feature film quality to them now, especially like the later one, the early one. They're trying to figure out the game because they brought in people from the community who are making feature film of quality cinema or visuals, and invited them to join the team. So yeah, I think that's another thing that the community loves.
okay, that's fair.
what
Uh,
about you, Griff? Yeah.
I have 2 things. One of them is I love when watching new players come in and see their enthusiasm, and their interest and their curiosity about the game. I also love the fact that the community responds to that in a very positive way for the most part. At least I know in our Discord, when people have questions, people have no issue helping them, giving them answers, assisting them. People want to just play together. People come in and ask what's everybody doing, things like that. And I just love the fact that, um, a lot of times it's very easy to say, go watch a YouTube video, right? Just tell people because there's a lot of complexity to Star Citizen at times. And so, and if people do say it, they say it in a loving way, right? They'll say, hey, you might want to look at some videos that'll help you, or there's some videos out there that talk about that, right?
Real quick, to your point, and they may say look it up on YouTube, but if you look it up on YouTube from like something from like 6 years ago, it may not be what it is now. So yeah, that's something they got to look out for.
Mhm. And people will reference, like in our Discord, people post videos for folks that they'll know. They'll post images. I think the other day, Togi posted the thing for the new aid thing, right? He made sure that people saw it, even though that stuff's on the website and people could find it. I mean, the fact that people try to be helpful to other folks, whether they are veterans of the game or whether they're new to the game. So I really like the fact that there's a lot of good outreach both ways, both for people who come in, because Star Citizen can be a bit overwhelming for a new player. Um, and so I love seeing that from them, and I also love seeing when the community recognizes the strides that Star Citizen makes. It's very easy, I kind of think of it like my city. I live in Chicago, and you're here every day. You go downtown every day. You go through the city every day, and you just see stuff all the time. Now it's funny if I don't go downtown for a 2 month period for some weird reason, or even a month period, I can go downtown and see something entirely different. Like when did they put that up, right? you know. And sometimes when you're in something all the time, you're not aware that progress has been made. You might even see it like while it's being built, but because you're watching it while it's being built, it doesn't feel like there's progression. But if you go away and then you come back a month later and the Starbucks wasn't there, right? Then you're like, wait, when they put a Starbucks here? You know what I mean? And so you recognize that something has dramatically changed in an area. Sometimes I think that because we're all so close to the project, when those leaps happen and those progressions happen, it's very easy for them to be minimized because we watched it happen in a very, we saw the process. But then there's those other times when something does happen. For example, Sirius back at Quantum Vegas last year, right? You had an interview with Sean Tracy. Sean Tracy mentions we're going to be starting on VR, right? And some people heard it, but a lot of people was like, "Yeah, okay, we heard that 8 years ago." And then and then all of a sudden, at the end of the year, CIG says, "Oh, yeah, here's an experimental VR for y'all to try out," right? And people were like, now mind you, we've got a show coming up, right, on the 8th about VR. They talked about VR a decade ago. But it wasn't but when it happened like that and nobody really knew about the progression, all of a sudden people are like, "Whoa, when did they do that?" Even folks who had been around for a long time. So the process of, when you're so close to the project, we can sometimes miss those milestones when they happen. But I do appreciate when the community does recognize those milestones when they happen. Okay, let's go to hate. Serious. The thing I don't even know if I want to ask serious this.
Ah,
When it comes to the community, or what are the things that you've heard that they gets them riled up or worked up or frustrated?
I think there's been a long-standing through line that I've heard from the community, um, and it's about the communication from CIG.
Mm,
Um, the Whether it is the feast or famine
mm,
in certain areas of type style of communication, or whether it is the content of what is said, how it's said, when it is said, um, what's said, is it enough? Is it not enough? Um, the Sometimes they'll when we used to get a lot more different types of communication, um, and that they've been consolidated down. There's still plenty of different types, but there used to be a lot more. And so when Chris would say something intent for the chairman that was different than somebody else said over here, or you'd have a dev who would say one thing in an offhanded comment on Spectrum or on a show, and people would take that and run with that, right? And that wouldn't be the case. Or they would just make a material mistake, as John Crew did with the Galaxy last year, right? So the number one thing that I've heard the community dislike is communication, right? Now, one of the things that we've talked about here is our experience in other gaming environments, right? And so even with finished games, the community person who's dialoguing with the community very often is catching all those bullets, right? Of a project's inconsistency, right? As it Elite Dangerous is a great example. There's a guy named Ed who used to catch all the bullets for Frontier as they rolled out different next
mhm,
steps in a finished game, right? Um, and so there's a lot of pressure. But um, with an unfinished game where it's not necessarily CIG's responsibility to come out and say, "Hey, uh, we're thinking differently about this thing." Um, and we're at the beginning of our thinking. So let's invite you all to to engage on that. They're not necessarily going to do that. They're going to tell us very often in the middle or the end of their thinking, right? Um, a lot of people have decided that open development means that they should be in the boardroom, right? And be up and be a part of it, any decision in its genesis, in its most nascent form, right? Um, And so they hate when they don't feel like they've gotten an opportunity to influence the decision making, and they get that through the communication. So for me, what I definitely have seen is a dislike of a lot of the communication. For me, when I hear that, I again I try to remember how much different types of communication we've gotten, right? And having led for-profit and nonprofit organizations, local to global, um, how difficult communication can be sometimes, right? But yeah, definitely that.
okay, that's cool. FC, some things that you've heard or know that the community ain't that thrilled about, that they don't like.
I was just gonna say that sometimes the community is like, we haven't heard from Chris Roberts as much as we used to. Like, what happened to Chris Roberts? You only hear from him once a year when he does the letter from the chairman, but we usually hear from him like several times a month, sometimes once a week. And then there are others when he does put something out. Oh, Chris Roberts, he's putting out too much stuff. Well, he needs to stop. So darn if you do, darn if you don't. In that aspect, the other thing is um, when a chip is released or like it goes from PTU and into live, it has certain aspects of a ship that the community can like, and then next patch or sometimes next patch or even like a .01 patch, the ship gets nerfed, and it's happened so many times. The community still gets bit by that nerf patch almost every single time. Like, haven't you seen a pattern by now?
Mm.
So that's the other thing I'm hearing from the community. They wish CIG would put out a ship and let it stay the way it is without nerfing it. Or yeah, that's basically it.
Mm. Ship nerfing, yeah.
And
Um,
is it nerfing, or is it they thought
Balancing,
they
yeah.
they, they
Well,
thought the
it,
ship
it,
was they had an idea for the ship, then millions of people got their hands on it. They saw the telemetry of how it was actually used and they tweaked it. But
it
because
depends
people
on the
just
ship.
spent yeah, because people just spent money on it, they see it as a nerf, right?
or
Yeah.
people treat it as a bait and switch and feel
Right.
it's deliberate. I'm just saying they feel it's
Well, part of that
deliberate
is
that
because
CIG's
it very rarely gets stronger,
right,
right?
right.
So
And there's FOMO. There's all types of things in there that get thrown into
mhm.
CIG's intentions. And I, you know, everybody's got their opinion, and what those are worth. So, we don't know unless you work at CIG what the real deal is. But I can understand why people feel either way, right? They can feel the genuine frustration, and then the people who feel like, well, this is all just a part of them for their money making scheme. Um, it is interesting, Fast Card, that you say that you know if you've been around the block a little while, you kind of know what the pattern is, right? And just sit back. But I'm also amazed at how many people are driven to buy something right up front, and they know that. And I'm not putting any blame. I'm always very curious about what it is that drives us at this point who've been around a while in this game.
Mhm.
New people, I understand their enthusiasm because I was a new person. But us old goats who've been around for a long time, I really sometimes wonder what is that purchase satisfying? Because there's no evidence that that purchase, you know, I'm not trying to be funny, but if they come out with the Odyssey tomorrow, right? There's gonna be
I'm gonna get
jokers.
it.
There's gonna be jokers unmelting that sucker, even though there is no exploration scanning, blah 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 in the game, right? What is the satisfaction here that makes us in a game that we know? Now, this is where my hate comes in from the community is that that feeling of dissatisfaction that they have because of marketing. To your point, serious. I'm going to go to marketing versus community versus communication because marketing reaches deep into the psyche. When we watch those, you mentioned it earlier, Fast Car, we see those trailers and those commercials. Those suckers reach in like freaking Svengali into our freaking psyches. And even though we know we're playing a game still being worked on, whatever you want to call it, pre-alpha, alpha, beta, whatever you want to call it, it ain't finished.
Early access.
And even though we see the word playable now, and I can understand the person from the outside who comes in and asks questions, but those of us who've been inside still get impacted and affected in ways that are negative. Um,
Marketing's job is to have you ask 2 questions. And the 2 questions are what if and imagine that,
imagine that. Yeah, but
and
if you
everybody gonna keep doing that.
listen, no, but you ain't gonna keep going to that Lincoln Cadillac dealer and buying the Cadillac after he got it.
Or some people flip it every 2 years.
No, yeah, no, but I'm talking about
I,
if it's a
I love your
limit.
Jay Leno.
No, but my point is that if the stuff don't work in it, right? If it
Right,
don't
right,
work,
you're not going
you're
back,
not gonna
right.
keep going back. And next year, well, next year I know the next come out next year. That was gonna work. No, you're not gonna keep doing that. And my question is, what is it within our community that we understand and we're frustrated and we know it? I'm saying there's something to analyze as to what that freaking magic ingredient is in their marketing that overshadows all the rationale, the logic, the wallet. How many people, I'm not spending another dime. Oh, they're not getting more money out of me. Oh, and yet and still, without any evidence, I shouldn't say that. Without evidence in the direction of what their purchase is, that there's going to be anything different.
But this is where that now I think kicks in for most of the community members, right?
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
the Prowler utility.
Thank you. I was about to go there because I was about to talk about your RSI ship. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say right now, the Prowler utility is a great stealth ship.
Now,
People were on a channel last night
saying that it
talking
was.
about they
Mhm.
turned off their shield generator. They got interdicted. They turned off the shield generator. They couldn't be found.
Yeah.
But it didn't launch quite like that.
Mm-mm.
They were telling us it's going to be a great stealth ship,
Mhm.
right? But when people got it, it looked nice enough and it sounded cool enough and it had new animations. And so they were able to go, what if, and imagine that enough in the now to justify it, right? And then now, later, right, it's actually doing
Yeah, but what did it
what they
justify?
said it was going to do.
What did it justify? It didn't justify getting the ship. It
No,
justified spending money. And that's my
justify
question. Because
having a
because
new
all
experience.
you gotta do is wait 90 days and you ain't gotta spend no money. You ain't gotta have no wallet heartbreak. There's something that makes people spend their money, even though it's going to be free in 90 days.
Not
And
fully
I'm
time wise, but yeah,
well, no, but you get what I'm saying. I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah,
those
yeah.
people aren't
Right.
barking. They're barking because they dropped money as a consumer and they're looking for, there's an expectation, right?
Griff, I'm gonna point to a conversation we had just yesterday about the Hermes. I'm interested in getting the ship. I want to replace the Mercury Star now, just the Mercury with the Hermes because it carried more cargo,
Mm-hmm.
and you know it should it's a block E one, and I'm not interested in the dating running aspect that the Mercury has. The issue is I cannot CCU from the Mercury to the Hermes because the Hermes is less expensive than the Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and if I can't melt my Mercury because it's part of a package, and I've converted it from a 6 month insurance package into an LTI package. But if I melt it, I would lose the LTI. So I, I'm thinking, how can I get a ship? Even though just like you said, it'll be out in 90 days. How can I get this ship? What do I got to do? so
Well,
you,
it is, and that is one aspect of because I've heard people, including Griff, I've heard community members talk about this idea that, well, new people to the game is one thing, but these older backers, they ought to know better, right?
Mhm.
But I do think things happen in waves, right? So I think older backers, you think, oh, well, they got their fleet together. Well, not really, because if these newer ships are the best current iterations of CIG's thinking, then they're going, oh, wait, there's a whole set. 27 ships came out last year that are materially better than some of the ships that I had before, right? Like I had the Constellation. I can intellectualize as a community member that the Constellation is going to get an update, but it ain't updated, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
struggling with that now. That's why I haven't bought that doggone Zeus 2 because I'm still trying to hold on to that Connie, but I get
And
it.
also,
I get
also
it.
for me, I had the
Right?
Raylan, but it's not out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
The
so
Hermes
we
is
all got
out.
examples.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I listen, I get it. And like I said, this is fun to have conversation about the psyche and the psychology of the Star Citizen backer, right? Because there's a lot of motivations and reasons. And Fastcart, to your point, I will say this, and to your point, Sirius, The one thing that the last couple ships came out that were really good about them is that they worked.
Mm.
The Apollo
Yeah.
Hermes works. I've been using it. I've used the tractor beam inside, all that stuff. It did exactly what it's designed to do. The Apollos work, right? So now we're not getting those ships that are quote unquote their whatever their purpose is, like the Reclaimer when it came out or the Carrack when it came out. Now you're getting ships that are coming out and they actually do what they're supposed to do. Now, mind you, some of the other functionalities aren't there, like suit lockers and the kitchen areas and things like that, but that's not the purpose of those ships. Those are just the additions to them. So we are seeing some things happen. And my hope is that that hate that the community is feeling starts to dissipate as they start making these ships come into fruition, like the update that we just got on the Aurora, that those ships start to really become what people have aspired to and paid for or worked hard in the game for. Okay. So anyway, did we all hit it?
We
Yes,
did all hit
I
it.
think
we
so.
all did hit it. Okay, cool. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this up because we are at 1 hour and 5 minutes. I was shooting for 45 to 55 minutes, but we went over a little bit. But we
We
had
just talked and talked and talked.
yeah. Well,
3
hopefully,
old guys.
yeah, 3 old guys. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the conversation that we had. By the way, as you all know, at the beginning of the year, we announced that we were going to be doing some changes to the format of our show, and we have done that during the month of February. When you see the marketing go out now, you're also going to see the marketing look a little bit differently. I didn't get to do it today. I was so tired last night. I had a headache. I didn't do it, and I forgot. But our show is now broken into 2 parts. Star Citizen this week, or This Week in Star Citizen. That is always the first half at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and then the second half will come right after it. Probably usually around the top of the hour. We're going to try and shoot to be around the top of the hour, and that will be whatever our subject is for that week. So you're going to start seeing 2 ads go out for us, one for the 7 o'clock Eastern Time and one for the 8 o'clock Eastern Time. So again, you can watch us for both because we just go from one to the other. But if you prefer one over the other, that's fine. The videos on YouTube are also split up that way. So if you want to see the full thing for the 2 hours, you can go back to Twitch and watch it on there afterward. But those will be now in 2 different things. So don't think that because we did the first part, we didn't do the second part. It's just that they're 2 different shows now. So thank you. Again, we're just going to try this out and see how this works for the quarter. If it works well, that's fine. Also, March 1st, 1 month away, will be our
Mm.
6th-year anniversary. And so we are looking forward to celebrating that. We've got some new faces that are joining us. I'm not going to say who they are. We're just going to let them show up, and there'll be probably people that you've heard of or whatever, but we have some new
Yeah,
faces.
see, I'm glad you said it that time because I was about to say
Yeah, you
who
were
it was.
about to say it.
Ah,
Yeah. So I'm not getting old and forgetful. I'm just hanging in there, but that's going to be coming up as well real soon. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us through the month of February. We've got the show tomorrow, which you will have seen, will be our update for 4.6, which dropped this week. The following week we're going to be doing our show on VR. It's called Vroom is VR for You. And that third week, we're taking a break. We're going to take that weekend off. And then the fourth week, we come back with a show called Profit, Prestige, Protection. We're going to be talking about the idea of transport and luxury in Star Citizen. And hopefully, you guys will be able to join us for that. So, without further ado, anything else, guys? Did I miss anything? I think we got it.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
no, that's it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us again. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation today. And as always, we're going to leave by saying
Peace.
love.
And so.
Take care, everybody. See you soon.